Hello and welcome to Creative Vitality Jam Sessions. Here we have intimate conversations with extraordinary dance and theater artists about reimagining creativity and supporting and building community. CVJS and I walk in solidarity and as allies for equality, justice, and respect. Black Lives Matter. And this month, we are celebrating women. More than ever, I might add. I'm Helen Pickett, and today's guest is Erica Dulao, principal artist and choreographer. We have known each other since 2007. Erica,
Hi.
you have to switch up your camera.
Oh, there we go.
There we
Is
go.
that okay?
That's fine.
Well, I had to switch it. Hey, how are you?
Yeah, I like the beginning. It's a change. Why not? I want to say, first of all, that you are the first female interview for Women's Month. And so I'm excited about that. And I also want to say, welcome, fellow Californian.
Yes, native.
That's right, as I am, born in San Diego. So I'm really, really happy to see you again. It's been a while since we've had a conversation and, well, in person, well, let's just forget about it. But it's been a while and it's really good to see you again. You look great. And your room is filled with gyro and Pilates equipment, I see. Amazing.
Yes, my furniture. Yeah, when I first moved to Louisville, it wasn't very popular, Pilates or gyro, and I really couldn't manage without it. So I invested in my gyrotonic machine, and then a friend of mine was closing down his studio, so I'm like, I can just take that off. So I've acquired, some pieces have been given to me, which is great. And then when we moved to this place, Christopher, my husband, did this for me so I could have my space, which is awesome. So I'm very grateful for his labor into this studio.
Great. And also talk about investment into the future if you so choose, right?
Yeah, well, it's just a part, I think, especially with Pilates and gyro, it's just a part of my everyday life. So it just becomes a part of you. So I decided to buy furniture of Pilates and gyro instead of real furniture. We used to live in a small condo, and you would walk in and there it was like a gyrotonic machine, and everybody would be like, I'm like, if someone came to check the air conditioning system, they'd be like, ma'am, I'm sorry, but I have to ask, what is that? And I'd have to explain.
You got quite a reputation there in Louisville, Kentucky. So I've just actually let the cat out of the bag. First question, you are in Louisville, right?
Yeah, yes, I
am. Well, actually, Erica, I want to start with a life experience that we both share. Your MFA that you got at Hollins University. You got it around 17?
Right.
Yeah, with your husband.
Yes.
That very nice. It's really beautiful. Because it's a great journey to do together.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. I couldn't imagine it without him, from the traveling to because the programs in Europe and in America, and he's from Poland. He's a European, so it was really interesting for our cohort, but for myself to also just really dive into two different perspectives or two different worlds. So it was really great.
Yeah, and also work-wise, and all the philosophy that you read in that program. It must have been so great to share that with someone and really have someone to talk through that, and I mean, wonderful.
Right. And we were probably the only, there were a lot of, in fact, I was starstruck in the program my first year, because the prince in Nutcracker from the Joffrey was in his last year, and I'm like, I was 8 when I met you, and I have your signature. Like, it was totally, I'm like, I can't believe it. But it was such a opportunity to really have discussions or see I guess see through questions or that we have of our careers. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
So, so the question is, you know, I'll put out a few questions because sometimes it's like, you know, we can weave throughout and I don't have to ask each one, but if I can also repeat them for you. How did this period of study shift you as a human being? And then as a human being, and then as an artist, that's one question. How, were there shifts and what were they? And did it dismantle any firm core beliefs or did it fortify ideas? And I'll stop there.
All of them. It was probably one of the most important journeys that we went through as ballet dancers. Also, you know, as a human, I've always was looking for something to help me find my voice or find like literally that voice in writing or speaking that has always come through in dance, but not in writing or in analyzation. And it really opened up a lot of really important questions about my identity, about my background, about my journey. And it answered a lot of questions about obstacles or politic or social conversations that needed to happen with myself and with others, or listen to others. So on that level, it was a time for me to really analyze where I come from and my roots and so forth. And then as a professional, it made me really ask what dance is, or what dance means to others, not just myself, but to others. And what it does beyond, you know, a beautiful ballet or a beautiful neoclassical or theater or so forth, like what it actually does in between. And there's something that Jeffrey said that was just so beautiful that I use and abuse this quote, and I give him credit for it all the time, is I see dance in between dances. And I don't know what it was. It just like totally clicked that my profession was more than just my body doing things and performing and presenting and showing something. So
Jeffrey was great at showing the liminal space, you know, of taking those valences away, and that we could, so that quote is so beautiful. Yeah, it's a beautiful quote. Sorry, go on.
No, that's what was the third part of this question?
Oh, well,
did it dismantle? Yes.
Did it dismantle firm core beliefs, or did it fortify, you know?
Yeah, both. Both, because a lot of the things that maybe I felt about the history in dance or ballet, in ballet, or the things that I also felt rooted in my dance or my being because of my background. I'm Mexican American from, Matachín dancer. So things that I felt kind of like in my DNA were kind of revealed, but also understanding, history of ballet and understanding where it's come from or where it is and how others view it, that they don't all view it the way I do, was dismantling kind of what has built that. And it was hard to listen to. It was hard to hear someone dismantle the art form that I love. But I felt it was so important for me to listen and understand that point of view, because I felt it a little bit. And it made me understand, that ballet is not everything. Does that make sense? It's not the only form of dance, or it's not the only form of expression. And it hasn't been my only form of expression for myself either. I've just not been open to seeing it. Mm-hmm. So there are some really important conversations in that program that I'm utterly grateful for. And we're both, Christopher comes from a national schooling, which is different from what I had. So it was really important for us to analyze and interrogate, the systems that we grew up in or that exist or that need to be relooked or reimagined, for equity, for inclusion, for reimagining, for creativity, for everything, just to evolve. So it was a really beautiful program for us to go through.
Yeah. I agree. I didn't get to go through it with my husband, but he certainly heard a lot of the conversations.
Right.
So did you, or do you carry forward the work that or the ideas that you learned from this program? That's one question, and then I've linked it to another thing. So let's stay with that question first, and then I'm going to talk about the Hadley creatives.
Yes, at Holland's, I created at the end of it, like it always happens like at the very end after like your 200th book, right? And your like 100th version of your thesis, right? Yes. And discussion with your peers and so forth. But I guess I build an identity called Elsie, and she kind of represents the voice that I maybe wish to have, or the voice that or the anger or the frustration that I wish to show that maybe is not always in ballet when you're doing like Aurora, Yeah. But and it's and I guess it also encompassed like all of the things that create her and all the conversations. And literally, I remember before the performance, like I tapped into what was actually happening like in that moment at that time. And it was what was happening at the border with children. And it just fueled me with just information in my body or sadness or whatever it was, but it fueled Elsie. And I've kind of used that to find my real motivation in what I'm doing, or for what I am doing it, or why I'm doing it. And I'm really new at it because it's so different from what I've been doing for so many years. I've been a vessel, or I've been interpreting someone's story, or I've been finding my own story within, an Aurora, or just that, but then this one, it's like a direct link to my DNA. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of what I've been trying to build on and ask, like, what is your motivation behind this? Like, if I do a talk, or if I do a lecture, or if I do choreography, or what, I try to go back to that like rooted motivation.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, the jumping off point seems to be, at least for me, and it sounds like for you as well, kind of infinite. That what I got from this education, there's a beautiful infiniteness
Yeah,
about how far and how, let's say, the refolding of information and how the tributaries that it leads to and how that can keep unfolding in your life. It's a gift that I am so time and time again, so thankful for. So
right.
what is, you mentioned Hadley Creatives, a community foundation in Louisville. How are you affiliated with them? What is Hadley Creatives?
Well, one of the things that Hollins, it made me write more. It made me feel more comfortable applying and up for an application, for a grant, for, which I'm grateful for, because I applied. I'm like, I'm just going to go for it. And so I applied for this grant, and I got in, which is amazing. And it's basically a community foundation, supports Hadley creative artists. So they picked, I'm year 2, so it's a 5-year commitment, and I'm year 2, and they picked 15 artists, local artists from Louisville, to support us with some educational classes on your business side, to network connection with other artists in town, from interviews to other grants available to you, and really just supporting the local artists and nurturing their voice, and helping them kind of talk to lawyers about their work, to deep discussions about diversity, so any of that form. And you go through a 6-month program, and then you just kind of become like a part of this Hadley Creatives team. So now your network just keeps growing. And then through that, I found out about the Kentucky Women's, that makes sense. So it just leads you to other doors. And then we did our cohort did a performance together, and we collaborated with one another. I collaborated with a sculpture artist and with a sculpture artist and a woman who wrote poetry, and a painter. Does that make sense? So then we work together to see what we can come up with, which is great, because you learn about their creative process, or their voice, or their work with their hands or mind, and so forth. So that's kind of what it is. It's like a network. If like, hey, want to do photography today?
No, but it's wonderful to hear that something, that this, grassroots, it's great. It gives people chances, this Hadley Creatives, and also it gives people chances, and also, like, the payback is also great, because it's still it's making art. It's for them, which is it's a really
Right.
great model. So Erica, you've danced with Louisville Ballet, where we met, since 2003. You are now a principal dancer there, right? And have been for some years.
On a good day.
Good. And you've danced roles the Sylph in La Sylphie, Giselle, Odette Odile in Swan Lake, Juliet in Romeo and Juliet, Cinderella, Swanhilda in Coppelia, Kitri in Don Quixote, Aurora in Sleeping Beauty, and then a multitude of leads in neoclassical and contemporary ballets. How has your classical work informed your contemporary work? And and vice versa, actually. And was there a moment Now I'm saying moment, but let's say, was there a role or a process, let's say a process that shifted the way you, let's say, are rather than look, are, in both or all three realms, because I mentioned three: new, classical, contemporary, and your classical work. So the first of the two questions is, how did, those three sides influence each other, I suppose? And was there a particular jumping off point, let's say, in all three of those moduses of modi in for you, that created those openings?
Oh, I love that, openings, because that's how they feel. And there's definitely some memories that opened something that, yeah, that was either intuitive or that interlaced or intersected with classical and contemporary. Yours was one of them. Adhesion was, well, my experience with you was unique because, remember, I was injured and I auditioned for you in tennis shoes. And you created a part for me almost in tennis shoes, but in stuff. And that was really inspiring, because that was the no matter what, that perseverance part in me. But my thirst to really understand contemporary work or improvisation or something that's just a different movement, and I've always craved that. And what you don't know is that after that, when that summer, I always did stuff in the summer, like workshops. I did a workshop in the summer for improv with Holly Johnson in LA, and it was the hardest thing I have ever done. I wanted to quit every day, and I never want to quit, but I would just think twice about, like, just go inside, Erica. It's gonna be okay. And I walked out of that so overwhelmed. But you came back the next season, and I was much more versed in it. I never realized how much I was learning, because when you're in the middle of it, right, you don't know. But it made me realize that it was a modern workshop, something that, I mean, they warmed up with a yoga class, not a ballet class. That makes sense. So it was like completely out of my comfort zone. And I just wanted to get on my leg, and they're like, we're doing yoga, downward dog pose. I'm like, what? And we're going to sit in a circle and talk about, cell phones. I'm like, what? But it made me realize that the information from the outside world actually informs me inside of the ballet studio, inside of that bubble. And that was kind of a trigger of, like, oh my gosh, like, all the conversations going around in my head, I can use them in my work. And it was just more, I mean, I always did it, but it was just more, I was just more aware of that. And I think it was kind of like Juliet. I remember Juliet being another moment where, I don't know, maybe I could just relate to the scenario, to the storyline, but it was a role that I was able to manipulate my body as a contemporary dancer in a classical role, in a ballet role. So because of the expression, and then I started abusing the work of en dehors and en dedans with Juliet, and what expression that brings out, and Laban. And so, so then it just starts, like you said, it just starts like opening all of these possibilities. So those are kind of two moments that I remember where the outside kind of started informing in, and then almost from there and on, it's been like interlacing one another constantly. So every time I go back to a Giselle, it's like it's a completely different body experience because of neoclassical, contemporary, improv, or whatnot. And then every time I do a contemporary, I can't help but put the bun head inside, you know?
It's
So
beautiful. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, it was, you explained it beautifully. The interlacing, huh? Yeah. The opening and then the interlacing, because laces can also be loose, right? There's still a lot of room there. Again, the liminal space, right? Which
yeah,
is
and
back to Jeffrey's line. Yeah.
yeah, we talked a lot about intersectionality in school. That was also, I love that
Mm.
image of all of us just constantly intersecting one another on every aspect, or you know, of the world, of the human mind. But yeah, it's like interlacing, intersecting constantly. There's just no labels. It's just constantly playing from one on to another.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that too. No labels, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
You have had a diverse career, speaking of the outside life, outside of Louisville Ballet, including a collaboration with the late graphic designer Julius Friedman in Grace and Form. Um, Now, I didn't understand, was that a film or was The Veil? Or was this all? Grace and Form, a film, The Veil and Convergence, Learning to Bend.
Oh, so with Julius, I did a few films and photography with him. So we did like a 1.5 year photo session, and then kind of on a gallery scale. And then we also did some films, and then we've always nibbled. I don't know, we just, if you have friends that are musicians and like, hey, can you do like, can you be in my video? And you're young, you're like, sure. So then you go to like, you know, park and I don't know, point your feet and do something. So Ben Solly has always been that. He's, you know, he's a well recognized artist, but when we were kids, we just basically got together and did videos for his music, and or for his openings, and it's never stopped. So I'm always grateful for those. With
And
Julius, it was,
Richard Van Cleek, is that who you're talking about?
so he was the director with Julius. So Richard and Julius were tied to the hip, and Richard's a very talented editor and filmmaker, and basically Julius wanted to do a film format for his visual art.
Okay.
So his he photographed nature a lot, and so with the Donald Lawrence is a filmmaker in Louisville, and basically they just layered his artwork on film, and Richard created the film, like put it into film version, and then he added another layer, me. So then
And then you're talking about the musician Ben Soleil, and that he's always been kind of in the mix with this.
yeah,
Beautiful.
he's always just in town. Yeah, so it's just
It's a
friendships
beautiful
that,
collective of artists.
yeah, they are. I'm really grateful for my time with them, and uh, I've learned those projects. I've learned so much about myself, or so much about movement or conversation with the body, or how it portrays, you know, to the other. So
Yeah,
it's really interesting work.
beautiful. And then, so going on, and you were a guest artist. As a guest artist, you performed with IMEE, Terpsichore, Rayford Rogers Modern Ballet, Sarasota Ballet at the Sarasota Opera House for Johann Coburg, Alina Korakaru and Friends Gala, New York International Ballet Competition Awards Gala, the first State Ballet Theater Gala, among others. When working with you, I experienced you as having an adventurous, generous spirit. Let's go back to, and also like, and a very curious mind. And let's just go back to that audition in your tennis shoes. I mean, I love what that says. It's just, it's such an important aspect of being an artist that, an artist, you, if we want to be in on something, we're going to find a way to do it. And then, I was like, this person really wants to be in the room with her tennis shoes. Okay, and then ending up creating a role for you on flats, and this also because I find time and time again, this two-way street of intentionality and want and need. I have found over the years, also as a young artist, that, and also through the years, that when that need and want is there, very often, if it's presented to another person, they kind of come along for the ride. It's like, it's this beautiful, it's not an understanding. It's like this beautiful yes. It's like, yeah, okay. If you're willing to go that far, I'm going to go with you. You know what I mean? So that's how I experienced you. And to quote you, you've been able to forge a career outside of classical traditions of ballet. Did you actively seek these experiences to dive deeper into life and art? And this is before your MFA, right? I mean, I'm talking about these things. That's why I just mentioned all these things. Did you actively seek these experiences to dive deeper into life and art? And has this work with these various artists shifted your classical interpretations? Again, I'm going back to that because I think it's so important for people that consider themselves, let's say, classical artists in any classical realm, to just acknowledge how much outside life filters in.
Right. I'm listening to you, like, and I'm thinking, like, and it's all kind of funneling into like one thing, which is I just really wanted to dance. Like, it's just like everything. I'm like I didn't get hired for any of those guestings because I was such a great dancer. And they're like, Alina Kayoka was like, Erica, you know.
Maybe she was.
She is, like, I love her. She's such an amazing artist. It was, my teacher said, if you want to dance, you'll find a way to dance. And my teachers always had some beautiful quotes that were changed my life completely, the way I thought. And they've stayed with me forever. And Phipps said this, like, if you want to dance, if a dancer wants to dance, they'll find a way.
Right.
And this is, I'm the underdog. I was not the worst, but all my girlfriends had full scholarships, stipends, just, San Francisco Ballet, I was always the underdog. Is this even possible? Like, I wanted it so bad, but I didn't know if I had the right body, the right talent, the right network, the right financial support and so forth. So I just secretly wanted it so bad. So I said yes to so many opportunities, but I also learned to barter a lot. It started with Pilates. I'll work the front desk and, I get free space in the Pilates studio, then I get certified, or I learned gyrotonics because I bartered with my modern teacher for, Pilates, and gyro. So I always found a way to find how to learn. But I think the focus was, I want to dance and I want to learn. And I knew that I wanted to learn how to move in different ways because I felt I wanted to express in different manners. So I just kept saying yes or being available, and I just started getting work. And then, you get rehired, and I wanted to keep performing all year. Our season ends April, and then there's April to August or September, right? There's like almost half a year off, right? I'm like, so I used to say, I'm like, this is my second season, my second part of my season. So what am I going to be doing? And I made sure my calendar was like filled. Because I wanted to be performing. I wanted to have experience. I wanted to learn from different choreographers. So I was the bunhead, and they're all postmodern, amazing movers. I learned so much from them early on. And it was a buddy that I grew up with that took me on. For the gala, they needed a filler, and I'm like, I can do that variation. So I just said yes to a lot of things, money or no money. The focus was, I want to dance. I want to keep performing.
So here I need a little bit of help, because you have won several awards, but maybe just what they were for, because I didn't really figure that out. So you were honored with the Kentucky Women's Foundation Award. What was that for?
That was a grant submission that I did based on some research on minority studies that I began to dive into. And I started with World War II. I don't know how, I do know how I got there, but I started with that, and then I just went through rabbit hole. And then after editing and conversations and even mentoring on their behalf, it ended up being a research and educational opportunity for me to learn more about Mexican Americans in Louisville, Kentucky, and what's happened in the past, the present, and work for the future. So it's kind of ongoing. I've done some bits and things with it, some choreography or some shows with Hadley creatives and so forth, but it's kind of this grant that keeps reliving itself or reimagining itself, right? Because it's just, I haven't found the niche, but there's something, there's a title called Erased that comes to mind, and to start basically a social conversation about Mexican descent individuals in Louisville, Kentucky, and the histories of that. So it's basically shedding light on history that will help us, or help me, understand how we are here, or where we are, or what is a narrative of the Latino community and why that narrative exists. And so a few scholars have, I've brought on a few scholars that are doing a lot of work in women minority studies or Latin studies here at U of L and so forth, to just kind of keep understanding the histories that create, whether it's a negative or a positive narrative of the Mexican body. And so that's kind of where I'm going with it.
What amazing uncovering of Mexican American history in Louisville and in Kentucky.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure that hasn't been done from a ballet dancer perspective and from a dancer perspective. And that's just, bringing to light your heritage in the place you live. Yeah, grassroots history, man. What one of the professors, Thomas F. DeFrance, always said, if you want to be remembered, get written into history. You're writing people back into history. So that title, Erased, you're bringing them back. You're bringing these names, these people, you're giving them a place in history. Wow. Wow. No wonder it keeps like coming back, right? That's
Yeah, I keep asking for a extension. I just got another extension. I'm like, because it's I mean, I've done so much with it already, but I'm like, I'm not, I haven't fulfilled it completely. And it deserves that. It deserves that. It deserves that fulfillment of, or at least that seed planted, or a visual to those studies,
yeah.
that are happening.
And also going back to the last question, saying that you had, you were talking about how the Louisville contract basically stopped in April and didn't start again until August, and you were starting your second season, right? That you'd have a whole second season, and creating, not just guesting in the places with all these amazing opportunities of guesting, which you spoke about, but also creating your own stamp of performance that you are now, curating, if you will. Oh my God. It's sorry, we just had another bump out of the internet. Do you have a strong connection?
Hold on. Let me try something.
Oh, Erica, this is like, it's really like hard for editing.
I know. I'm so sorry about that.
Well, it's not about that. It's that our interview gets a flow, and then do you know what, okay.
I'm
So,
sorry.
where was I?
I'm developing a persona of dance outside of my second
Okay.
season.
So, let's see, for editing. So your second season, basically from April to August, you're actually creating your own persona and your own identity as a curator. You are a part of this. You are curating the art that you are also invested in. It's beautiful. I love this history. This writing the Mexican American back into history within Louisville. It's beautiful. So you have some other awards. You received a John Orr Award from the Pasadena Arts Council, and then also you were medaled at the Music Centered Spotlight Awards. What were these for?
So the John Orr, my teacher, basically helped me understand awards or what they were, and I'm grateful for him because it allowed me to continue studies in dance. And the Pasadena Arts Council just gave scholarship funds for dancers who wanted to continue dance. And so I didn't have a job after high school, but I kept training, and he saw that I wanted to keep trying to become, and so he nominated me for an award. And honestly, I didn't even know that these resources existed or whatnot. So for me, it was just someone believing in me and what I was doing, and nominating me for that. And the Music Center, it's this like large, award competition for different art categories in Los Angeles, and it's the largest or one of the largest. And for the ballet category, I've seen my colleagues go through and so forth, and I've auditioned every year, and sorry, thank you very much. And then everybody would go away for summer programs, and my parents could never afford that. So I always stayed back, but I always felt really okay to stay back because I had my teachers to myself while everybody was, the variations classes just had, smaller classes and so forth. So I always saw it as an opportunity. And that summer, Gilma Bustillo, one of my main teachers, gave variation classes, and it was key tree. And my teacher's like, Miss DeLeo, you look pretty good in that. Maybe you should use that, to audition for Music Center. I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah, that's right up your alley. And so I said, okay, I will. So I got to work on that, in that summer. And I auditioned. I worked really hard and I rehearsed every night. And my teachers were more than generous with me. And I got in. I kept getting through because there's like finals and stuff. And then at the end of, I don't know, 800 dancers, there's 2 that, go to perform at the Music Center. And I made it. So for me, it was a sign of hope that maybe there's a place for me in dance. And that there's, that I'm not so bad after all. And that's really kind of my moment where I had an opportunity to feel a large theater, or feel the pressures, or feel the work ethic, that process, that goes behind achieving anything. So that's kind of what that award meant to me. So
I have to say something, Erica, knowing you also as an artist, it's kind of painful for me to think that you as a person and as an artist, would think that how hard it was, right, for you to find a place, because I tell you, you are an extraordinary dancer. You're just, and I saw it back then, and just, you're an extraordinary artist. And I tell you, it is, for anybody watching this, it is a source of true inspiration, because you are a principal dancer. And there were people that believed in you, along the way, but perhaps not enough. But what a spirit. What a strong sense of intention and spirit you have. And I'm just here to say, you have a bright future. What you've done already with your life and with your gorgeous little baby girl, and your future is bright. At least I'm going to say, I'm predicting that, because, you're an exceptional human being. And go forward with that knowledge, Erica. It's time. You don't have to, there's nothing cocky in that statement. That can be an inner line in you that, and I hope it is, perhaps I hope it is. I just had to say that, and talking with you again and hearing everything that you've done, and the journey that you had to get to the place where you are now. Now, going back to you as a creator, again, in another way, because you've been creating all of this. Recently, you debuted your first full-length ballet of Cleopatra at Shakespeare in the Park. Can you please tell us more about this project? And was this in cooperation with Louisville Ballet at all?
yes, it was in through the Louisville Ballet. Our buddy Roger, who's I'm utterly grateful for, he's very well versed in Shakespeare, and thought it would be cool if the ballet did something to Shakespeare in the outdoor park, and drove that with new music. And the Louisville Ballet supported that. And then the second year he asked me if I would want to do it, because he was now in college for geophysics. And I said, sure. He goes, I can, as collaborative, but I would pretty much not be around that much, but we would collaborate with the storyline and so forth. And so he took on the narrative of the libretto and also the composition. And we worked with a a new composition by Scott, and did it. And this is a very low budget, but very loved performance, because it's one outdoors, it's free, it's Shakespeare, it's in summer, and it's kind of seeing Shakespeare with movement. So that was a collaborative with new music, new storyline. Well, I mean, rewritten. So it was quite an experience to see what has to happen, or what happens with an outdoor show and rain and limited budget, and you just make it happen because the outcome is so magnificent. So
wow,
yeah.
that sounded it sounds rich. Sounds like a rich experience.
Yeah.
And you have a beautiful little daughter, which we mentioned briefly. What is her name?
Ariana.
Ariana, beautiful.
Yes.
That is the name that one of my best girlfriends, long-term girlfriends, gave to her daughter, and I was her godmother for, Ariana. So you are a certified Pilates and gyro and gyrokinesis instructor. You are a principal dancer. You have a multitude of collaborators that you've worked with over these years. What an accomplished and rich life you've led thus far. These multiple reimaginings intertwined into each other, and they offer such fertile ground. What are your next ideas? And what does your map of invention look like? Or let's say, could it look like?
Right. I always have faith that all of my crazy intuitions or crazy ideas, or thirst to understand something, I always find faith or confidence, even when I don't have the confidence, but this intuition to have to learn something or understand something further, or get my hands on experience or whatnot, will lead me to being prepared for the next opportunity. It's almost like following my heart or following my instinct. And I've learned it's never lost. Because I'm always like, well, I didn't need to learn that. I'm like, no, it always somehow, that information is always useful in some way later on. And I've kind of kept that going. So now, what I feel is important for me to learn is more of the quantitative side of the dance sector, the dance arena, and so forth, to understand how I can lead or forge or understand or educate, in my profession. Because it takes so much to be a dancer. It takes so much to guide a choreographer, or collaborate with individuals, or be with other artists. So I want to be well-rounded as a person, to be able to do that. So right now I'm in the place where I want to keep learning about my profession, where I'm very in love with my family life right now, and my daughter, and they're definitely the focus of my me and I feel it's only enriching who I am. And it's actually helping me be able to say, like, no, I should have a more focused point rather than be like, what else can I learn today? But like you said, actually finding that more concentrated vision, and stay creative. I don't think I'm done saying things with my, me and my body. So there's a lot in front of me. Dance is definitely in it. Being among artists is definitely also in it. And also learning to lift others is definitely in it. So I really enjoy the education part of it, or nurturing or sustaining those spaces or places or people. So
Wow,
yeah.
beautiful. Sounds like you have a rich, beautiful life ahead of you. Yeah. And also following that intuition and leaning on all you've learned and letting all of it come. Beautiful. So these are the last 3 questions that I ask everyone. I know there are many. Every single interview I say this, but can you share a favorite or impactful memory from your creative life? Something that might come to you right now.
It's, oh gosh, many good and bad that are all really important. I keep going back to that phrase from Jeffrey, like, I see dance in between dances, because it is the space in between, like the performances, or the good and the bad moments, that are really what kind of links one performance to the other, or one rehearsal to the other, or one day to the other. And it's really, my teachers, my stagers, choreographers, dancers, colleagues, husband, like parents, like, that have kind of just made their way in between those spaces to support the whole thing. So yeah, I can't pick one or the other.
Gorgeous.
So I know her voice is so sweet.
That's fine. I get it. It's like it's also, to use your word again, it's interlaced. So yeah, okay. And then do you have a specific insight that you can share about living a creative life?
Embrace. I would say, yeah, I think embrace everything from your roots, or what made you, or what motivates you. I think it will always find its way how to come out with creativity, whether it's, sharing your story or your knowledge or your talk, but it'll somehow, it just transforms into a story that's really important to be heard. So
Ariana wants her story to be heard too.
Ariana does want her story to be heard too.
And I want to hear her story. Beautiful. And then, in supporting and building a more equitable dance community, what are some specific daily practices we can be active with?
I guess lifting others. Yeah, I think lifting one another. It takes a village to nurture an artist. and I guess as a woman, I've always appreciated being lifted by others, and I'll edify this moment of, auditioning for you in my tennis shoes, because it was a lift when I was really down. And it was really important. And it still makes me teary, because we all need to be lifted at one point.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. And it's a beautiful part of our profession, right?
Oh, it's probably the best. It's probably the best part of it, that we have that ability to do it on the stage or in a studio or in a film or whatever way it is. It's probably the most beautiful part about our profession.
Yeah, and that we can do it for each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Erica, your beautiful spirit shines through so brightly. I want to thank you so much for this joyful chat. I remember that about you. It was always seeing the opportunity in the situation and the bright side. And thank you for that. That's extremely inspiring. So I want to direct viewers to find out more about you. Do you have an Instagram account, or do you have a website or something? Because I think you'd be a big inspiration. Also, I guess they could go to Louisville Ballet and see some clips of you and stuff like that. But can you tell us?
Yes, I'm on Instagram. I have the Erica De La O official, or I also have just my first and my last name on Instagram and Facebook. So they're more than welcome to, see what I'm up to with Ariana. Lately, it's a lot of gyrotonics with Ariana.
The most gorgeous picture the other day where Ariana was on the floor of the bench, right, of the gyro, and your doggy was sleeping and you're like, and how do I start this? It was awesome.
Yeah, she's definitely more, getting herself around, which is great because she just plays and explores. So I get to do a little bit more at a time. But yeah, she's definitely getting the feel for for the gyro and the Pilates. And yeah, it's great. And he somehow loves that bench as a seat for himself.
Tells you it's being part of the pack. Dogs love being part of the pack.
So, and COVID.
Yes, and COVID. Yes, exactly. So in the description box below this video, you'll find a short bio from Erica, so you'll get to know a little bit about her. And we have new guests every week. Our next interview in our Women's Month is Claudia Schreier, a resident choreographer of Atlanta Ballet and freelance choreographer. And now is my time to thank Beautiful Dance World, which Eric and I are so thrilled to be a part of, have upheld us, has given us so much. Gracie Spina, thank you so much for everything. You're almost a graduated human being in your last semester at UArts, so congratulations almost on that. And thank you, Erica, because it was just super, super nice to see you again and hear you and hear your story.
Thank you for having me, and just thank you for being in the dance world.
Oh, thank you so much. I hope to see you.
You will soon.
Bye.
Bye.